So what is a recommendation system? In simple terms, a recommender system are algorithms aimed at suggesting relevant items to users. These items can be like movies to watch, songs to listen to, text to read, products to buy, or anything else depending upon the industries. So, the main two perceptions behind a recommender system is that if a user tends to buy a certain product, they're more likely to buy another product with similar characteristics. An example for this would be like when you're scrolling through Amazon and you click on a product, and when you scroll down, there's a panel which says that similar products. So this is an example for this. So another perception is that if multiple users tend to buy a set of products together, then new user might also buy those set of products together. So again, taking the example of Amazon, when you click a certain product and below there's this panel called frequently bought together. So a lot of people tend to buy 2 to 3 products together. So maybe you might tend to like these kind of products as well. So different types of recommendation systems. So as you can see, there are three main types of recommender systems: a content-based, collaborative filtering, and hybrid methods. Collaborative method is based solely on the past interactions recorded between the users and items in order to produce new recommendations. So the main idea basically is that the past user item interactions are sufficient to actually detect similar users or similar items and make predictions based on these interactions itself. Collaborative filtering is again divided into two subcategories, which we can see is model-based and memory-based. So in memory-based, we're basically saying that we're directly working with the values recorded. We're assuming there's no underlying model, and we're essentially basing it on like nearest neighbor search. So let us say we're trying to find the closest user from a user of similar interest, and we're suggesting a popular items amongst these neighbors to the new user. So model based basically means that there's an underlying generative model and which actually explains how these user item interactions are created, and we're trying to discover it in order to make new predictions. The main advantage of collaborative approaches is that they actually require no personal information about the user or an item. But this comes as a disadvantage when you don't have a lot of past data. So it's really difficult for suggesting or recommending stuff for new users. So unlike collaborative filtering, which only relies on user item interactions, content-based approaches actually use additional information about users and items. So taking an example of a movie recommendation system itself, the additional information can be like your age, your gender, your job, your language, your location, or any personal information like maybe your favorite actors and actresses. Another type is hybrid methods. This is basically a combination of both collaborative and content-based. So
Yeah.
memory-based collaborative system, again, can be divided into two approaches, which is user-user approach and item-item approach. So the user-user method is like based on searching of similar users in terms of interaction with items. So let us say we have a user A who's really similar to user B, C, D. So if I suggest some popular items amongst these users to user A, they're more likely to buy it. Taking a user, you tend to actually join a cluster of other people with similar tastes and you get content based on these past choices. So let us say you're using YouTube for the first time and you play a Black Bear song, and the system clusters you with other users who actually like Black Bear. So then YouTube recommendation system shows you other videos seen and chosen by these users in your cluster. So the more choices you make, the more relevant your recommendations become. While an item-item method, it's completely based on the searching for similar items in terms of user-item interactions. So again, let us take a user A who tends to like fancy genre type of books. So the system will suggest more books similar to that type of genre. Taking an example of Goodreads or Wattpad, which are both sites that allow you to actually read books. So if I rate any book on that site of 5, I will see the top rated books which are with similar attributes. So what kind of recommendation system did we build? Ours was based on a collaborative filtering system. The steps we followed were we used a data set called Movie Lens, which has about 1 lakh ratings about over 1,000 movies by over 900 users, which was downloaded from a website called GroupLens. Our main aim was to build an item approach memory-based collaborative system. And keeping the potential of our project in mind, we built a simple movie recommendation chatbot in Python. So before we move forward with the code, an important topic must be discussed, which is correlation. So correlation is just a statistical technique that can show you whether or how strongly pairs of variables are related. So let us say you want to mathematically or statistically calculate the relation between, taking a small example, maybe like the increase of sales in a product due to various factors like marketing, quality, and more. So correlation formulas tend to return a value which is between -1 and 1. So a positive correlation means that the correlation means that if one variable moves either up or down, the other variable moves in the same direction. A real life example would be like the amount of coffee you drink increases the hours you actually stay up or you're productive. So a perfect negative correlation or a negative correlation basically means that these variables are moving in the opposite direction. A real life example would be like how if it's darker outside, there's more light needed. So as evening comes, we tend to switch on our lights at home. So to a zero correlation implies that there's no linear relationship between the variables at all. So the different types of correlation coefficients. There's Pearson, which is a standard correlation coefficient, and there's Kendall and Spearman. So Pearson's correlation is commonly used in linear regression, and we're also using it in our project as well. To make you understand how correlation values are calculated, I would like to show you guys a small question. So, 1 minute. Is the OneNote screen visible?
Yeah, it's visible.
So let us say we have this is users and this is movies. So let's say we have 4 users. Let's say they have A, B, and C and D. And let us take 2 movies which we want to find the correlation between. Let us take Moana and maybe the Hulk. So let us name this as X and Y. So this is the Pearson's formula. So according to this, we're going to find XY, and we're going to find X squared, and then we're going to find Y squared. So let us say user A has rated Moana about like a 1 out of a 10, and B about a 5, a 7, a C a 7, and then D an 8. So then user A has rated the Hulk or Y as a 5, maybe a 3, and then C would be 6, and then a 4. So then XY would be 5, this would be 15, this would be 42, and this would be 32. And then X squared would be 1, this will be 25, and this will be 49, and this will be 64. So then Y squared will be 25, this will be 9, and then 36, and 16. So let us take the summation of each column. So if this is summation, this would be 21, and this would be 18, this would be 94, this will be 139, and 86. Yeah. So over here we can see there's a variable called n. N basically means the number of users or the number of rows that you have. So over here we have 4 users, so my n is going to be 4. So plugging in these values into our formula, so you can have r equals to, we'll have 4, and then 94, then minus 21 into 18. Yeah. And then in the bottom, we're going to have a 4 into 139, and then minus 21 whole square, which is that. And then again, we'll be having 4 into 86 minus 18 whole square. So simplifying this, you're going to the top, you're going to get a minus 2. And then on the bottom, you're going to get like 115 and 20. Again, simplifying it further, minus 2 and 10 root 23. And further, it will be minus 0.041703. So this value basically means how related or what the relationship between these 2 movies. So you'll be understanding more about correlations when we're talking about the code, but generally just know that this is what is underlyingly happening when we're calculating the correlations of every movie. So according to our code, if the user gives me the movie The Hulk, I'm going to be calculating the correlation of Hulk with every other movie present in our data set. And you're going to be getting a tabular form of all the correlations and all the relationships between this movie and every other movie in the dataset according to ratings. Now moving back to our presentation. So implementation in Python. So using pandas, we're using a function called corewidth, which actually allows us to compute pairwise correlations between rows or columns of two data frame objects. And the basic process is that we'll be correlating a given column with every other column in the data frame and compute the correlation scores. So now let's move to Google Colab. I hand it over to Chadwick.
You are using item based or user based correlation?
I, item based.
Item based, okay.
Good morning, everyone. Is my screen visible?
Yeah, it's visible, Charvik.
Okay, now let us look at the code. So the first step is to import all the libraries required for our project. We are using NumPy for mathematical calculations, Pandas for data manipulation and analysis, Matplotlib for plotting graphs. Seaborn is basically a data visualization library, and Seaborn is based on Matplotlib library. Plotly.express is used to create entire figures at once. SciPy is used for scientific and technical computing. The next step is to access our CSV file. So for that we use pandas.read underscore CSV function to read our file called ratings.csv. I have pre-uploaded the rating CSV files which we need for the project. So in order to check whether the CSV file has actually been opened or accessed properly, we are printing out the first 10 items from our dataset. As you can see, we have 4 main columns in our dataset. One is user ID, movie ID, rating, and timestamp. The user ID is actually unique for each user, and as you know, a single user cannot review every movie present in a dataset, but he can review many different movies. So the user with user ID 1 has reviewed many movies. That is the reason user ID is the same for first 10 movies present in our dataset. Next is movie ID. Just like user ID, movie ID is also different for each user. Uh, Movie ID is also different for each movie. And our dataset has almost over 1,000 movies. The next one is rating. It is the rating left by each user for the different movies present in our dataset. Just remember that it is not possible for every user who visits a dataset or a website to leave a rating on every single movie present. The main important columns which are required for our project are the user ID, movie ID, and ratings. We can even find out the number of rows and columns present in our dataset using data.shape function. In this dataset, there are 1 lakh 4 rows and 4 columns. Okay, next we need to read another CSV file known as movies.csv to get the rest of the information like title and genre. The movie ID in both the CSV file is the primary key for connecting the data into different CSV files. As you can see, this CSV file contains movies, titles, and genres. Now let us find out how many rows and columns are present in uh, our movies.csv file. This CSV file has around 62,000 rows. So we can safely say that there are more than 60,000 movies in our different movies in our data set. The next part is to merge two CSV files and create one data set. We are using data.merge based on movie ID, and the movies.csv file is getting appended to ratings CSV file. The columns the columns till the timestamp are from ratings.csv file, and the title and genre are from movies.csv file. As I mentioned, the data is being merged based on movie ID. To see that, let us use log function to see that, let us use log function to find out what is the 31st movie in movies.csv file. Because the 31st movie present in ratings.csv, the first movie present in ratings.csv file as movie ID 31. As you can see here, after running the log function, we get to know that the 31st movie present is Dangerous Minds. Here also the 31st movie is Dangerous Minds. Mm, So that's how we are using movies.id to merge two different CSV files. Now we are going to separate the uh, title and rating from the above data set and use them to form a new data frame or data set, and simultaneously we are going a particular movie. Next, we need to add a new column to see how the number of times a movie has been rated. For that, we are going to use count function. The total rating here gives us the total number of people who rated a single movie. As you can see here, the movie Great Performance Cats has been rated by 2 users, while the movie 500 Days of Summer has been rated by 45 different users. Next, we need to make a pivot table for each user and the ratings to each movie in the database. Here we are grouping the table. Here we are grouping the table using user ID and title of the movie. We then use rating dot max rating.max to consider only the max rating left by a single user for a movie. Let us say user one, for example, let us say that user one has left a rating of 3 for the movie Great Performance Cats, and then later he comes and leaves the same movie with a rating of 5. So we are only considering the highest rating. In this case, user one has left a highest rating of 5, and we are using dot unstack function to fill the movies which have not been rated by a particular user with NaN, which basically stands for not a number value. Here we can observe that the user 6 has left a rating for the movie Barbs with a 4.0. You might be thinking that what's the use of creating so many tables and all, but we needed all that for the next step. From here it will all start making sense. Now let us see how we use null hypothesis to actually recommend a movie for a user. So before learning how we use null hypothesis, let us learn what actually null hypothesis is. Null hypothesis is basically making an assumption. But before that, we need to learn what actually null hypothesis is. I'm just going to tell the basic concept of null hypothesis. As we know, data science is all about data and statistics. The data will only be useful if you are going to analyze it and try to find some conclusions from it. To find such conclusions, we use many methods. One such method is null hypothesis testing. Basically, in hypothesis testing, we actually evaluate n mutually exclusive statements on a population data using sample data. Now, let us say that there are only two mutually exclusive statements for an example, and to make it simple. As an example, let us say that in a court, uh, the defendant is guilty and the defendant is innocent. So these are two statements, and only one of them can be true. And how can we know which statement is true? I will discuss the steps. First step is to make initial assumptions. Let us say, for example, let us say that we make an assumption H naught, which is basically null hypothesis. And H naught states that the defendant is innocent. The second step is to collect data. Collecting data actually means that we need to collect evidences. In case of a criminal or for our example, let us in case of a criminal case, let us say that fingerprints or CC footages, etc., are the evidences. Third one is to observe the data. By observing the data, we can either reject the data or reject the assumption or retain the assumption. Now, this is just an example with only two mutually exclusive statements. But in case of data, we will have huge amount of data that we will try to analyze the data considering the sample data, and then we can actually come to a conclusion on the whole data itself. There is also another hypothesis called alternate hypothesis, which is basically the opposite of null hypothesis. Alternate hypothesis is denoted by H1. Due to the lack of evidences, we will consider alternate hypothesis to be true. For us to know whether the statements are null hypothesis or alternate hypothesis, we'll need to consider a lot of evidences and prove that whether we reject or retain the null hypothesis. Now that we understood the basic concept of null hypothesis, let us look at the code. Here we are making a null hypothesis assumption that there is no significant difference between the movies Dark Knight and Toy Story, but the movies Dark Knight and Toy Story are nowhere similar to each other. But let us now try to prove that mathematically or statistically. First we input the movies, then we gather the ratings given. Then we gather the ratings given by each user, and then calculate the mean of all the ratings given by every user. Then we are going to perform hypothesis testing. M1 dot mean gives us the hypothesis. M1 dot mean gives us the mean of ratings of mean of ratings of a movie of Dark Knight from 2008, and M2 dot mean gives us the mean ratings of Toy Story from 1995. Then we are going to perform hypothesis testing, and for hypothesis testing, we are going to consider the significance alpha level as 0.001. To perform hypothesis testing, we are using stats.ptest underscore ind function on the means of ratings to get the p-value. If the obtained p-value is greater than or equal to the significance alpha level value, then we retain the null hypothesis. But if the obtained p-value is less than the assumed significance alpha level value, we reject the null hypothesis. As you can see, the p-value here is 0.0057, which is basically less than the significance alpha level value. We are going to reject our null hypothesis, which states that there is no difference in the movies The Dark Knight and the Toy Story, and conclude that these movies are not at all similar to each other. We are going to use this concept to actually compare a single movie with all the movies present in our data set. And in this case, in case you are wondering what the function drop NA is used for, then drop NA is a function to remove all the NaN values from the number of ratings, such that we are only calculating the mean of float integers present in our ratings column. Now let us see how our recommendation system is going to help a user get a movie similar to his input. Let us run a movie input function, and then we are going to search for movies similar to 10,000 BC from 2008. We are just going to get the ratings of a movie user entered, and we are going to correlate the things, and then we are going to correlate the ratings of a movie with every movie present in our data set. Here, core with function is used for pairwise correlation. Pairwise correlation is computed between rows or columns of a data frame with another row data frame. Then we are going to remove every NaN value present using the drop NA function. Doing this provides provides us with a data frame with only title and correlation values. As you can see here, for the movie 10,000 BC, 500 Days of Summer has a correlation value of 0.8, whereas 10,000 BC has 1, which is, as they both are similar, we are going to calculate the correlation value with the movie itself also. And 101 Dalmatians from 1961 is very similar to this movie, this 100 BC movie, along with the 12 Years a Slave. But 2012 is very different from 100,000, 10,000 BC. For the user to understand the data better, we are going to sort the data using sort_values function. This gives us a list which is perfectly correlated with the movies, in ascending order with the input user gave. Now my friend Tejaswini is going to continue from here on. Thank you.
So now I'll be telling you more about our recommendation system. I'll be presenting my screen now. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes, it's visible.
Yeah, it's visible.
So I'll just run this previous. So as you have seen, as Tarvik has shown you, here will be, then we get this correlations table. So what we can observe here is that although we get the correlations and most of them are 1, they don't actually have the similarity with the movie we gave as input. For like here we've taken 10,000 BC as a movie, but it does not really have much relationship with Cars 2. Like 10,000 BC is basically about a prehistoric tribe, and then Cars 2 is a Disney movie, animation movie, as we all know. So although the correlation value is 1, there is not there is no actual similarity within both of them. So for that, we are going to add few additional features such that we can obtain similarity. So in order to obtain the similarity, movies with more efficiency, we need to perform these following operations. So first here, what we are doing is we are grouping the ratings by the title, and then we are aggregating them into the groups with respect to basically size and mean. Here you can see that all the movies are divided or aggregated using aggregate function into size and mean. Size basically is how many people have rated that specific movie. Like great performances was rated by only 2 people. And then mean of the ratings is that as we have seen, there are about many users, like about 1,000 users, more than 1,000. So the ratings by each and every person's, the mean of the ratings would be here. So now another main important point is that there are people who rate the movies, right? So if there are very less people who are rating, for example, here you can see great performances is only rated by 2 people. So if both of them will give you a 5, that means that they're having perfect 5 ratings. But then that is not actual. If you actually think that does not make actual sense, considering a movie rating with respect to only 2 people. So what we are doing here is firstly we are removing every movie which is having less than 100 people rated. So we are only going to consider the movies where there are at least 100 people who have rated it. And then we are sorting it with respect to the ratings mean in descending order. So here you can see the list. These are the movies which are having at least 100 people who have read. That is size. You can see everything is above 100. And then the mean also, we are assembling it in an ascending order. So here in the next step, we are basically appending or joining the correlations. So correlations have, as you have seen here, is being given to similar movies. So here we are, so here with respect to similarity, we are joining each movie. So here we are having size, mean, and similarity of each movie. And now we are going to allocate these top 20 into a separate data frame so that we can actually see what are the top 20 ones. So basically, till now, what we have seen is the working of correlations and similarity code that we have applied part by part differently by breaking it. Now let us see it by combining both correlations and the similarity parts to arrive at the data frame where we can obtain our top 20 recommendations, such that it will be even helpful in visualizing. So firstly, I'm going to make correlations as with help of Corbett function, as you have seen Chadwick has already done. So here we have done that, and then now we are creating a recommendation list with respect to the correlations and sorting them. So here we are dropping all the NAN values, as we cannot calculate our correlations and total ratings and arrive at a recommendation when when it is having an NAN value. So now we are joining total ratings of the average from the average ratings data frame. We have seen that in operations. So now this is basically what we get, and then now, as we have seen in similarity, we are actually seeing to it that the total ratings that is number of people who have rated is at least greater than 100, and then reset index basically is to get this index from 0 to how many ever they are. So we are resetting the index, that is getting it into default value. And then with respect to correlations, we have sorted it in descending order. So now we are merging movie titles genre, that is we are appending it to our data frame that we have got with respect to the titles. So we have got the genres, movie IDs, total ratings, correlation, and title. You can see here the genres basically is a string where each genre is a string variable which is containing different genres, which is basically separated with this pipe symbol. So now what we are doing is, here we are having so many movies. So in order to make visualization better, we are just going ahead with top 20. So as you can see, top underscore rank is basically having all these 20 top 20 movies that we are getting recommended to, and this is very much these movies actually make sense to be similar with the movie that we have given as a, and correlation value is also good, and this is basically helping us to improve the efficiency of our recommendations.
One question, Tejaswini.
Now let us move. Yes, sir.
So this is the recommended movies for the input you have given. You have given an input
Yes,
movie, and these are the recommendations which you got, which you computed based on the measure of correlation measure, right?
Movie. Yes, sir.
Okay. Is there any
So
other
this is
measure?
basically correlation. Sir?
Is there any other measure apart from correlation?
No, sir. Apart from correlations, what we are seeing is the number of people who have rated it. So that it needs to be at least 100 for it to be credible.
Okay, go ahead.
So now let us proceed with visualization. Visualization is very helpful in getting into conclusions so that we can actually get a clear picture of our data set or our project. So now firstly I'll be using top rank and describing the top rank so that we get to know about our data set first. Data frame first. So the correlations, total ratings and movie ID, all of them count is 20 because we have only taken 20 values. And next is the mean. So as we can basically understand, mean, minimum and maximum are respectively what they mean for each respective column. So STD is standard deviation of the respective columns. 25 percentile basically is the 25% mark below which values will be found. For example, that is, if you take 75% mark, this is below 75, at least 75% of the correlations are having. The 75 percentile mark is basically 1. Similarly, 50 percentile mark is also given over here. We can also consider 50 percentile mark as a median. So we have now as I have discussed above, we have seen that how important it is to know how many people rated each movie. For it to be credible, as number of people who have rated is really important for us. So here we are going to represent present a bar plot which shows how many people have rated the top 20 movies. So we have used plt.figure in order to create a figure object, and then sns.bar plot basically gives us our plot with its x-axis as total rating and y-axis as title. So plt.show helps in showing it. So as you can see, there are most of the people who have rated for Independence Day. So Independence Day is having above 200 people who have rated for it. And similarly, here you can see for each movie how many people have rated. So it is also important because we know that correlations is what we are recommending it based on. It is really important to know what are correlations of each movie is with respect to our movie that given as.
Yeah.
So here you can see these are the
question,
movies which are having.
One question. Yeah, can you go a little more above, where you said 25%, 50%, and 75%? So, so this 50% is, as you said, it is a median, right? That means more than half of the movies which are exactly rated to the movie which you have given as an input, right? That is what it is trying to convey.
Yes, sir.
There are 50% of the movies which are exactly rated by the users to the movie which you have given as an input, and the leftover 50%, there are some variations. Okay,
yes,
okay, okay, okay.
Like you can also see that over here. You can see that more than 50% are having correlations of 1. So,
okay,
yes.
okay,
So
okay.
this is basically very helpful in order to know the efficiency, like how many actually are related to the movie that the user is giving. Also, in order to make this plot, if interactive or differently, you can also change the symbol over here. Like if you want a plus symbol, you will get everything in plus. If you want a green star, you will get it all in green stars. So this is basically helping in visualizing it even more. So now coming to the next part, it is like for the user, they might actually want to see the movies which are also with respect to genre. Like they might want to see, they might like comedy movies or drama movies, so they would want to see movies which are having genre as comedy. So here I'm giving it as comedy. So I'm getting the movies which are of genre comedy. If I want to see of drama, I get a list of movies which are of genre drama. This is very helpful because depending upon the user's preference to genres, we can recommend the movies to them. And coming to the next thing, this is
one more question,
yes.
Tejaswini. So you said that there are so many movies which are exactly correlated. How would we bestly recommend if we ask some top 5 movies to recommend? Since there are half of the movies out of that, suppose if you take 100 movies, you got 50 movies with the same score, same correlation value. And how do you decide which of the 5 most movies which has to be recommended to the user?
So that we at present we are only recommending the first 5 in the data.
Yeah. Is there anything like since you were saying regarding the genre, the input movie belongs to a particular genre, right? And
Yes.
the out of the 50% of the movies, maybe few movies would be belonging to that particular genre. Maybe belong the ones which are similar genre can be recommended, or some other category, not only genre, some other aspects can be taken into consideration.
Yes, sir. So basically, that is why what I've done is here you can see that we can actually give a particular movie and then get to know the genres. So using this and this, we can further implement it such that we can further get it into the genre wise also. I actually wanted to do it, but then this data set didn't actually allow me to do, because here you can see that they are in form of strings, so it needs like a little more. We need to create a different data set in our which is actually helpful in that. So that is why I've made it into two separate parts, so that we can actually understand that we can also do it based on genre. And the 50% of it is not, and here I would like to make it clear that it is not 50 of the data set, our first movies data set, which is similar. It is 50, more than 50% of our top 20 movies that are similar. So yeah. And here if you want to like, this is from our top ranked movies, so if you want to take another movie and see if yeah. So if you want to see if it is having drama, it is not having drama. So if you want to see if it is having action, so it is having action. You can see the movie Rock is having action in its genre, so it is showing through. So as sir has told, we can actually club these methods in order to give a more movie where the person wants in a specific genre also. So now we'll proceed with the next part, that is pie chart. We can show the number of movies in each genre very beautifully by using a pie diagram. So in this code we'll see the genre. We know that the genre is basically a string which is having different genres which are separated by the pipe symbol, right? So here in this code, that is what we are doing first. That is, we are splitting it and turning into a list. Each where there is a pipe symbol, that means that is the end of one genre. And then we are counting how many genres are there. So if there's comedy movie, it takes as a comedy as the first thing, and then it counts how many other movies are having genre as its genre as comedy. So that is what is being done here, and then we are going to plot a pie chart. So here you can see it very well that this is like these many genres we are having, and then these are number of movies in each genre. So we can clearly see that dramas is genre drama is having the most of the movies. So now let us plot a bar graph in the same aspect. So we can do the same in bar graph also as we've done in pie chart. For doing this, we are using firstly get dummies. So this get dummies function is it's pretty important. So it basically assigns zeros and ones to all the zeros and ones to our table. It creates dummy table. So basically what it is that here, for example, we have taken the movie Rock. So this Rock is having action, adventure, and sci-fi among all these various other genres. So firstly, what it does is it forms a table, and then every other genre will be having a zero except for action, adventure, and sci-fi. Similarly, a table is we get a data frame or a table for all the movies in our database, which is basically having ones and zeros to represent which genre it actually the movie actually is having. So next, we are dropping the genres column, because now we have got the dummies table. We don't actually require the string of all the genres that we have. And then we are concatenating these dummies to each movie. We don't need genres anymore. So the next thing that we are doing, dropping the title. So title is also not required, because the graph we are going to plot is about. And then we are dropping movie ID, and then in case there are movies where there is no genre listed, we are going to remove those also. So after doing that, we are using c.plot.bar in order to represent our, in order to get our bar plot. So this is really important. The purpose of this visualization is basically to draw important conclusions. Like here we can see that our data set is having most of the movies as in the genre of drama, and then least of them in the genre of IMAX. So we can actually compare how many movies in each genre are there in our data set in order to so that we can actually develop our data set even more or get to know about the preferences of users or things like that. So now Alekia is going to continue with this future scope of our project.
Is it visible?
Yeah, it's visible.
Hello? Yeah, okay. Yeah. So now on to the application, which is a chatbot. So over here, I'm importing the libraries that we require, which is NumPy and Pandas. And the important thing over here is NLTK. So NLTK is basically natural language toolkit, which allows us to work with human language data. And from the util module, we're actually importing chat. So what this actually does is that it allows us to talk or generally converse, which basically is the whole idea of a chatbot. So over here, I'm importing the CSV file, which is movies, which we have it. Over here, I'm just displaying the first 10 values. We have the movie ID, title, and genre. So before we come into why we require this, I just want to talk about creating the bot replies, or basically creating the whole chatbot. So over here, what I'm doing is that firstly, any chatbot, the user is going to give some input, and you want your chatbot to reply according to that. So if, let us say, the user is going to say hi or hey or hello, my output or the chatbot is going to be replying saying that, hi, my name is MoveBot, how are you? And similarly over here, I just wanted to make sure that you can differentiate your inputs what the user gives with the pipe symbol and the outputs that you want. But if all of this means the same thing, like if technically hey, hi, hello, they all mean the same thing, it's just greeting. So if you just want to display one answer, you can just directly do that. So I just created answers and question and answers according to how the conversation might run. So if to the first answer, to the first output, my user is probably going to say I'm fine or great or good. So then the chatbot's going to say, that's great to hear, how can I help you? So since this is a movie recommendation chatbot, so the main inputs that a user might give might be movie, or I need a movie, give me a movie, or suggest me a movie. So the output for that is what I said is choose a language, which is Telugu, Hindi, English, or random. So so to understand this again, we're moving back up. So how are we actually using the CSV file? So over here, I'm taking the function called simple to take 10 random movies from my data. So these are the 10 random movies. So I'm now appending these movies into a list and then converting them into a string. So I'm mapping them into a string. So I'm just taking it according to the title and I'm appending it into a list R, and then I'm taking a random string called random, and I'm appending it. So let us see prints. It's going to give the output of all the random movies that we took here. So like OMG, oh my God, or something. Yeah, we have all these stored in random. So why we're actually doing that is that our function chat, or the util function, only takes strings as inputs as well as gives strings as outputs. So we couldn't find a data frame or a data set with actually what we wanted to display, like according to the genres and according to each movie. So we decided to create our own in order just to show what the potential of our project can be and how we can actually implement it. So over here, for every language and for every genre, I chose 4, which is comedy, romance, thriller or horror, and action. I created just 5 movies for each language, Telugu, Hindi, and English, to just show what we actually can do. So if we want to display, this is for Telugu, this is for Hindi, and let us say we want for English, let us say I'm going to be displaying all the animated movies. So it's the same thing, I'm just giving a list and then I'm mapping that list into a string, and which we can display below. So over here we can all the animated movies, as well as I displayed comedy here as well. So these are the first few are the comedy movies, and the next are the animated movies which I gave. So this is completely what I made. So we're not using any other external data. So over here, again, so the user, if they're going to be selecting Telugu or Hindi or English or random, we are going to be asking them to choose a genre. And according to that keyword or the code decided, I'm going to be displaying the strings that we saw above. So for each code, we're going to be displaying the strings. So again, just to finish it off, you can say bye, thanks, or bye, thank you. For everything, I would want one reply, which is you're welcome. And this only ends when you say quit. So the whole the whole cell also ends when you say quit. So the reply for that, I would like to have like bye, see you soon, which are customizable. You can change the replies as well as the um, answers as well. So over here, I'm just assigning the set pairs. Over here, the whole replies. Assigning all whole replies to chat. And so chat.converse is the main thing which we're displaying here, which actually holds the conversation with the user it encounters quit. So if I'm going to be saying, hey, it's going to say, hello, my name is Mubot, how are you? If I'm going to say good, it's going to ask me, how can I help you? Let us say I need a movie. It's going to ask me to choose a language. So let us say if I'm choosing English, going to ask me a genre. Let us say I'm going to be taking animated. It's going to display all the movies here. So if I choose random in order to get the values that we had in our data set, you can say R, we're going to be getting the random values. So you can, so the main thing we can observe here is that if I'm going to give something which is not in my in the replies that I created, it's going to return a value called none. So this is what we can actually work upon if you're actually implementing any AI or ML algorithms on your bot. You can actually train your chatbot in order to reply to a value that is similar to what you actually kept. So if you're using like Rasa and Python together, and you can actually create like intents, and according to that, similarly to correlation or similar, the value which is similar to the input that the user gave, and then display something. So since we're not using any AI or ML algorithms, it's just something that I gave. It's going to give something. It's going to give me none. So if I'm saying bye, and then I'm saying quit to just end it. So this is our application. It has a lot of potential and we can actually work with it. But this is what we could create with like the knowledge that we have, and like knowledge in Python, as well as the time that we had. If there are any questions, you can ask us. Thank you.